Hi, my name is John Fortune, and today I'm going to read to you a book about one of my favorite people, Fred Rogers. The title of the book is Fred's Big Feelings, The Life and Legacy of Mr. Rogers. Like many of your parents and grandparents, I grew up watching Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood on TV almost every day. The beginning of the show was always a welcoming song. The middle of the show explored some new feeling or object or interesting subject. And the end was always a song telling each and every one of us how special we were just by being you. I chose this book because, like so many other people, I think Fred Rogers was an extraordinary person. What is an extraordinary person? Let's read the story about Mr. Rogers and see if you can figure it out. Hello, neighbor. Come in. Look around. What do you see? This is a closet filled with Mr. Rogers' cardigans. His mother knitted each one. And there's where he changes his shoes. Sneakers are more comfy, don't you think? Now settle in. Mr. Rogers is ready to visit with you. You may know Mr. Rogers as America's favorite television neighbor. But before that, he was just Freddie Rogers, a quiet boy with big feelings. Freddie was shy, and he had trouble making friends. He felt sad when his schoolmates overlooked him. Bullies taunted Freddie about his weight. He felt scared when they chased him alone. And when asthma kept him indoors for much of the summer, he felt lonelier than ever. Freddie took refuge at the piano. Soon his feelings were flowing through his fingertips. Worry fretted and fussed and faded. Sadness wailed and whimpered and then waned. Anger crashed and clattered and then calmed. Music followed Freddie to express himself, but it was his grandfather McFeely's message of unconditional love that boosted Freddie's self-esteem. He said, "You made this day a really special day just by being yourself. And I happen to like you just the way you are." Gradually, with Grandfather McFeely's words tucked in his heart and music as his confidant, Fred grew. In high school, when a football injury landed a popular player in the hospital, Fred was there to bring Jim's homework to him. A dynamic friendship developed between the two. Jim accepted Fred. He vouched for him and encouraged him. Fred's confidence soared. He became a leader. He felt valued and respected. How deeply one person can affect the life of another. In the spring of 1951, Fred's path was clear. Graduate from college, then attend seminary to become a minister. But the new television set at his parents' house changed his plans. A children's show caught his attention. It left him feeling shocked. To Fred, television had such potential. What if he could create thoughtful alternatives to the endless pranks, jokes, and gags that filled the current TV programming? What if a TV show could leave someone feeling welcomed, loved, even special? Fred was determined to find out. His opportunity came at WQED, America's first community-sponsored television station. In 1954, Fred and his colleague, Josie Carey, created the Children's Corner. It was filled with Fred's music, Josie's laughter, and many puppets, which Fred animated from behind the scenes. His hunch that television could build a community while being entertaining and educational proved correct. Their show was a hit. The Children's Corner was performed live and mainly improvised. After it went off the air, Fred wanted to be more intentional about the content of his shows. So, in 1968, Fred started airing his own program, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Now Fred was in front of the camera as the show's host. He welcomed children with his songs, encouraged his viewers' curiosity, and honored his grandfather by naming a special character after him, Mr. McFeely, the speedy delivery man. But above all, Fred focused on feelings. Silly, shy, selfish. He addressed them all during his show. Look, Mr. Rogers feels playful. He's taking a juggling lesson. Mr. Rogers feels sad. One of his goldfish has died. Mr. Rogers feels welcoming. He invites Officer Clemens to soak his feet. Mr. Rogers feels joyful. He visits with special guests like cellist Yo-Yo Ma, dancer Ying Li, jazz trumpeter Winston Marsalis, and even Coco the gorilla. Now listen, here comes the trolley. Ding ding, toot toot. It's a world of make-believe. The small tiger feels worried. What if a falling star lands on his clock? The king's niece feels generous. She offers orange juice to each of her friends. The rosy-cheeked lady feels angry. She turns a tower upside down. Toot toot, ding ding, see you next time. Grandfather McFeely knew Fred was one of a kind, and now America's children did too. All over the country, viewers were beginning to depend on his steady, caring presence. But in 1969, when Fred's show was only 1 year old, the government threatened to cut the funding for public television. So Fred stepped off the set of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and into a hearing on Capitol Hill to make his feelings known. In front of a Senate committee, Fred testified about the important work of childhood to learn how to express emotions constructively. Even though Fred felt mad, he didn't shout or blame or raise his voice. Instead, he recited a song that he had written for his show called "What Do You Do with the Mad That You Feel?" In it, he encouraged children to draw on their inner strengths to communicate anger in healthy ways. A hush fell over the room during Fred's quiet, passionate testimony. The tough committee chairman, Senator Pastor, even got goosebumps. "Looks like you just earned the $20 million, he remarked. By sharing his feelings, Fred Rogers secured the funding for public broadcasting. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood would be on the air for years to come. In nearly 900 episodes, from 1968 to 2001, Mr. Rogers broadcasted affection, compassion, and respect for his audience. His message was clear. It is normal to have feelings. It is good to talk about your feelings. It's important to share your feelings. And the best part, everyone expresses their feelings in their own special way. Our visit with Mr. Rogers has come to an end. It's time for him to feed his fish, change out of his sneakers, and hang up his sweater. Now listen, Mr. Rogers has a message just for you. You always make each day a special day. You know how? Just by being you. There's only one person in the world like you, and people can like you exactly as you are. That is such a good feeling. Wow, what a great book about an extraordinary person, Fred Rogers. Mr. Rogers had a wonderful ability to talk to children and help us understand the complicated world we live in. He was celebrated for his pioneering work in children's television, and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood was on TV for 33 years. Not only was he inducted into the Television Hall of Fame, but he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian award for all of his work. Even as an adult, I still have a favorite saying that came from Mr. Rogers. It goes like this: in times of trouble or tragedy, look for the helpers. They're always running towards the danger, not away from it. Today, we are living through a pandemic, a bad virus that can make people sick. Who are the helpers? Who are the people who are not afraid of the virus? Certainly, doctors and nurses are caring for the sick are helpers. The police, fire, and EMT people who come to our rescue are helpers. Even the people who are inventing a cure for the virus are helpers. There are many helpers, people who are not afraid to be around danger in order to help the rest of us. See if you can spot the helpers the next time you see trouble or danger. It's been my pleasure to share this book about Fred Rogers with you today. I hope to see you all again on Lunenburg Storytime. Thank you for watching.
Hi, my name is Diane Nowd. Some of you may know me as Mrs. Nowd. I taught first grade for the town of Lunenburg for a long, long time. I always told people I had the best job in the world because I got to read wonderful books every single day of my job. So it was difficult for me to choose one to share with you today, but I found one. It's called Can't You Sleep, Little Bear, and it's written by Martin Waddell. Sorry about that. Once there were two bears, Big Bear and Little Bear. Big Bear is the big bear, and Little Bear is the little bear. They played all day in the bright sunlight. When night came and the sun went down, Big Bear took Little Bear home to the bear cave. Big Bear put Little Bear to bed in the dark part of the cave. "Go to sleep, Little Bear," he said, and Little Bear tried. Big Bear settled in the bear chair and read his bear book by the light of the fire, but Little Bear couldn't get to sleep. "Can't you sleep, Little Bear?" asked Big Bear, putting down his bear book, which was just getting to the interesting part, and padding over to the bed. "I'm scared," said Little Bear. "Why are you scared, Little Bear?" asked Big Bear. "I don't like the dark," said Little Bear. "What dark?" said Big Bear. "The dark all around us," said Little Bear. Big Bear looked and he saw that the dark part of the cave was very dark. So he went to the lantern cupboard and took out the tiniest lantern that was there. Big Bear lit the tiniest lantern and put it next to Little Bear's bed. "There's a tiny light to keep you from being scared, Little Bear," said Big Bear. "Thank you, Big Bear," said Little Bear, cuddling up in the glow. "Now go to sleep, Little Bear," said Big Bear, and he padded back to the bear chair and settled down to read the bear book by the light of the fire. Little Bear tried to go to sleep, but he couldn't. "Can't you sleep, Little Bear?" yawned Big Bear, putting down his bear book with just 4 pages to go to the interesting part and padding over to the bed. "I'm scared," said Little Bear. "Why are you scared, Little Bear?" asked Big Bear. "I don't like the dark," said Little Bear. "What dark?" asked Big Bear. "The dark all around us," said Little Bear. "But I brought you a lantern," said Big Bear. "Only a teeny-weeny one," said Little Bear, "and there's lots of dark." Big Bear looked, and he saw that Little Bear was quite right. There was still lots of dark. So Big Bear went to the lantern cupboard and took out a bigger lantern. Big Bear lit the lantern and put it beside the other one. "Now go to sleep, Little Bear," said Big Bear, and he padded back to the bear chair and settled down to read the bear book by the light of the fire. Little Bear tried and tried to go to sleep, but he couldn't. "Can't you sleep, Little Bear?" grunted Big Bear, putting down his bear book with just 3 pages to go. "I'm scared," said Little Bear. "Why are you scared, Little Bear?" asked Big Bear. "I don't like the dark," said Little Bear. "What dark?" asked Big Bear. "The dark all around us," said Little Bear. "But I brought you 2 lanterns," said Big Bear, "a tiny one and a bigger one." "Not much bigger," said Little Bear, "and there's still lots of dark." Big Bear thought about it, and then he went to the lantern cupboard and took out the biggest lantern of them all, with 2 handles and a piece of chain. He hooked up the lantern above Little Bear's bed. "I brought you the biggest lantern of them all," he told Little Bear. "That's to keep you from being scared." "Thank you, Big Bear," said Little Bear, curling up in the glow and watching the shadows dance. "Now go to sleep, Little Bear," said Big Bear, and he padded back to the bear chair and settled down to read the bear book by the light of the fire. Little Bear tried and tried and tried to go to sleep, but he couldn't. "Can't you sleep, Little Bear?" groaned Big Bear, putting down his bear book with just 2 pages to go and padding over to the bed. "I'm scared," said Little Bear. "Why are you scared, Little Bear?" asked Big Bear. "I don't like the dark," said Little Bear. "What dark?" asked Big Bear. "The dark all around us," said Little Bear. "But I brought you the biggest lantern of them all, and there isn't any dark left," said Big Bear. "Yes, there is," said Little Bear. "There is, out there." And he pointed out of the bear cave at the night. Big Bear saw that Little Bear was right. Big Bear was very puzzled, though. All the lanterns in the world couldn't light up the dark outside. Big Bear thought about it for a long time, and then he said, "Come on, Little Bear." "Where are we going?" asked Little Bear. "Out," said Big Bear. "Out into the darkness?" said Little Bear. "Yes," said Big Bear. "But I'm scared of the dark," said Little Bear. "No need to be," said Big Bear. And he took Little Bear by the paw and led him out of the cave into the night. And it was dark. "Oh, I'm scared," said Little Bear, cuddling up to Big Bear. Big Bear lifted Little Bear and cuddled him and said, "Look at the dark, Little Bear." And Little Bear looked. "I brought you the moon, Little Bear," said Big Bear. "The bright yellow moon and all the twinkly stars." But Little Bear didn't say anything, for he had gone to sleep, warm and safe in Big Bear's arms. Big Bear carried Little Bear back into the bear cave, fast asleep, and he settled down with Little Bear on one arm and the bear book on the other, cozy in the big chair by the fire. And Big Bear read the bear book right to the end. I hope you enjoyed it.
Hi, my name's Donna Fortune, and the book I chose to read today for you is Counting on Katherine, How Katherine Johnson Saved Apollo 13, written by Helene Becker and illustrated by Dow Pumiruk. You've likely heard of the historic Apollo 13 mission. But do you know about the mathematical genius who made sure that Apollo 13 returned safely home? As a child, Katherine Johnson loved to count. She counted the steps to the road, the number of dishes and spoons she washed in the kitchen sink, everything. Boundless, curious, and excited by calculations, young Katherine longed to know as much as she could about math, about the universe. From Katherine's early beginnings as a gifted student to her heroic accomplishments as a prominent mathematician at NASA, this is the story of a groundbreaking American woman who not only calculated the course of moon landings, but, in turn, saved lives and made enormous contributions to history. Katherine loved to count. She counted the steps to the road, the steps to the church, the number of dishes and spoons she washed in the bright white sink. The only things she couldn't count were the stars in the sky. Only a fool, she thought, would try that. Even so, the stars sparked her imagination. What was out there? Katherine yearned to know as much as she could about numbers, about the universe, about everything. Katherine's boundless curiosity turned her into a star student. She was so bright, she skipped 3 whole grades. She catapulted right past her brother. He wasn't very happy about that. By the time she turned 10, Katherine was ready for high school. But back then, America was legally segregated by race. Her town's high school didn't admit black students of any age. Katherine burned with fury. She wanted more than anything to keep learning. There was still so much to know. "Count on me," Katherine's father told her. By working night and day, he earned enough money to move the family to a town with a black high school. Katherine loved high school. She was good at every subject, but math was still her favorite. She dreamed of becoming a research mathematician, making discoveries about the number patterns that are the foundations of our universe. In those days, though, there were no jobs as research mathematicians for women. Professions most available to them were teaching and nursing. So Katherine became an elementary school teacher. She liked her job. She loved her students. But she never stopped dreaming about exploring numbers. In the 1950s, the U.S. government's National Advisory Committee on Aeronautics, NACA, hired thousands of new employees. It even started hiring black women as mathematicians. Katherine heard about the mathematician jobs. Her heart raced with excitement. Perhaps her dream could come true after all. But when she applied for one of the positions, she was told they were already filled. Katherine had to wait a whole year until new spots opened up. Her patience paid off. She got the job. A few years later, the Soviet Union sent a rocket ship into space, launching a space race with the United States. NACA was rolled into a new space agency, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA. Katherine now found herself at the heart of America's space program. She worked as a computer. Electronic computers weren't widely used yet, calculating long series of numbers. All the computers were women. They were given the tasks that men thought were boring or unimportant. That didn't bother Katherine. She knew that without her contributions, a spaceship couldn't reach its destination, nor safely return to Earth. Here's why. Sending a rocket ship into space is like throwing a ball into the air. At first, the force of the throw sends the ball up, up, up. But as its energy runs out, the ball's path curves back toward the ground. Where it lands depends on what angle it was thrown and how high and how fast it flew. Because math is kind of a language, Katherine could ask those questions. How high would the rocket ship go, and how fast would it travel? Using numbers. And numbers would provide the all-important answer. Where would it land? To find out, Katherine plotted the numbers she'd calculated on a graph. When she joined the points together, they formed a curved line. At one end of the line was Earth at the time the rocket ship launched. At the other end was where Earth would be when the ship landed. Katherine's reputation for accuracy and strong leadership skills, she was known for asking plenty of questions, got her promoted to Project Mercury, a new program designed to send the first American astronauts into space. Mercury's missions were going to be dangerous, so dangerous that even the project's star astronaut, John Glenn, refused to fly unless Katherine okayed the numbers. "You can count on me," she said. Glenn's spacecraft, Friendship 7, orbited Earth 3 times and returned home safely. Glenn became a national hero. Katherine was promoted again. Now she was asked to calculate the flight paths for Project Apollo, the first flights to the moon. "Count on me," she said. On July 20, 1969, the Apollo astronauts walked on the moon. Their feat was celebrated around the world. More triumphs followed. Apollo 12 rocketed to the moon in November of 1969. Apollo 13 launched on April 11, 1970. But on the third day of Apollo 13's flight, the worst thing happened: an explosion in space. Could the crippled spaceship make it to the moon? And if it didn't, would it be able to get back home to Earth? The 3 astronauts on board were in grave peril. Commander Jim Lovell told Mission Control, "Houston, we've had a problem." Back on Earth, Katherine Johnson got a phone call. Her flight path calculations would have to be done all over again, and perfectly. It would be the toughest challenge of her life. Katherine told Mission Control, "You can count on me." She rolled up her sleeves, took a deep breath, and began doing the math. She worked hard and fast. A few hours later, Katherine's calculations were finished. The flight path to return home would take the ship around the far side of the moon. From there, the moon's gravity would act like a slingshot and zing the ship back to Earth. To get home, the crew of Apollo 13 would have to follow Katherine's course exactly by burning off fuel at precise intervals. If the astronauts made a mistake, their ship would drift through space forever. Katherine waited anxiously to hear the astronauts' report. Finally, it crackled over the loudspeakers. "We've got it!" Apollo was back on track. Katherine Johnson had done it. She'd brought Apollo 13 home. She was no longer the kid who dreamed of what lay beyond the stars. She was now a star herself. Let's learn some more about Katherine Johnson. Katherine Johnson was born on August 26, 1918, in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. It's more than 100 years ago. Her mother was a teacher. Katherine assumed she'd grow up to be a teacher too. From her youngest days, it was clear to everyone that Katherine was extremely bright. When she officially started school, she went straight into 2nd grade. Later, she skipped grade 5. Katherine graduated from high school at 14 and West Virginia State College at 18. Her first job was teaching math in Marion, Virginia. She loved helping her students learn and encouraged them to learn from one another. "I had my students find a buddy and help each other." In 1953, Katherine got a job as a computer at the Langley Aeronautic Laboratory for the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, later called NASA. To counter ingrained sexism there, she had to develop more than math skills. We needed to be assertive as women in those days, assertive and aggressive. Still, Katherine was kept out of the research team's all-male briefings. Eventually, they got tired of answering all my questions, and they just let me in. Spurred by competition with the Soviet Union, the United States ramped up its own space program in 1958. That's about the time that many of your grandparents were born. And Katherine became an aerospace technologist when her team joined NASA. By the late 1960s, NASA estimates more than 400,000 people were working on sending a man to the moon. Katherine says, "The whole idea of going into space was new and daring. There were no textbooks. We had to write them. We wrote the first textbook by hand." Katherine did her calculations on mechanical tabulating machines. By 1961, electronic computers were coming into wider use. But many people, including John Glenn, didn't trust the computer-generated numbers. "Call Katherine," she remembers him saying. "If she says the number is right, I'll take it." Her role, however, always involved more than mere number crunching. It relied heavily on hunches, or guesses, or feelings. By letting her imagination run free, Katherine developed a key backup navigation system that used the stars as guideposts. Katherine's contributions were crucial to America's space program. She calculated the trajectory for Alan Shepard's first flight into space and devised the trajectories for space capsules and lunar landing modules. She co-authored 26 scientific papers, including a groundbreaking report on the theoretical underpinnings of space flight. Later in her career, she worked on the space shuttle and on a satellite project that searched the globe for underground minerals and other national resources from space. In 2015, Katherine received the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Despite her many achievements, Katherine never liked to take any credit. Her reason? Because we always worked as a team, she says. It was never just one person. It's been really wonderful to share this story with you today. Don't be afraid to reach for the stars. You might just become an extraordinary person too.
Thank you for watching Lunenburg Storytime, the books we love. If you'd like to get involved and become a reader, we'd love to have you come into our studio and read a book that you love. Our contact information is lunenburgaccess@gmail.com. So send us an email today and let us know if you'd like to become a reader. Thank you.